What's up, guys? This is Chris here, and today we're going to be doing a full 1,000-round review on one of the cheapest 1911s on the market. Today we're going to be looking at the Taurus PT 1911 full size. Now, before we do that, I want to mention my patron supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you that we could purchase guns like this. We bought this gun with the patron dollars, and I can't appreciate that enough. If you want to support the channel, all you got to do is go to the link in the description and sign up. Also in the description of this video is a link to a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. It's the YSS. I'd really appreciate it if you guys would go down there and click the link and donate to those kids. It's just a good thing to do. Now, the Taurus PT 1911, as you can see here, is a full-size, single-action 9mm with a full 5-inch barrel. However, if you're interested in 45, they make that as well. They also make compacts, and they also make several different versions of this gun that either include a rail or not. And I believe they even make one or two that have optics mounts now, but don't quote me on that. This particular gun is the base model, and the reason for that is because this is the cheapest one I could find. I wanted to do a video on the cheapest 1911 on the market, and this was the one I've been able to get over the past year or so. This is the only one I found for around the $500 price point. A lot of even the Tauruses now are going from $500 to $600 or even $700 depending on where you purchase it. If you find one of these for $700, do not buy it. Trust me, by the end of the video, I'll give you some better options. That being said, this gun comes with a lot of features that I initially liked out of the box. The first thing I liked is it comes with front slide serrations, which work very well for me because I use those to press check and or run the slide on occasion. I like to run the slide from the front if possible, especially with an optic. This one doesn't have an optic, so I can obviously run it from the rear relatively easily, but I do like it and I do appreciate it. It doesn't come with a rail. I wish it came with a rail. Full-size guns, most of the time I like them with a rail. However, 1911 have such a classic look that a lot of times I have no problem with it not having a rail because it just looks good. It has some pretty decent checkering on the mainspring and then on the front strap as well, which is one of the things that really attracted me to the gun, honestly. I don't get a lot of budget guns that have this good of texture. As a matter of fact, if you get some Colts, some Kimbers, or even some Springfields with a couple $100 more than this, oftentimes you will not have a checkered front strap, which I think is kind of bullshit. Solution to that, though, is you can just put some grip tape there, some skateboard tape or whatever, and that's not a problem, but it doesn't look near as good as coming right from the factory. We have some pretty decent G10 grips here, or plastic grips. I'm not exactly sure what material they're made of. And then we have a medium-sized curved combat style serrated and has some holes in it trigger there, which we'll get into here in a second as well. We also have the 3-dot white sights, and they're not too bad. Classic, standard Novak style drifting sights. If you want to drift it left or right, you can. However, you're stuck with elevation unless you got a file. Now, we have an ambi safety, which is a pretty good feature in my opinion, considering lefties and righties buy handguns, so I like that a lot. No beveling on the mag wall or anything like that, and the gun does come with one singular 9-round Metgar magazine, which actually is a pretty quality magazine. However, for most of the testing, we used the Wilson Combat magazine, since they were the only other magazine that would function in this gun. By Chip McCormick's and several other brands would not work in this gun, so keep that in mind. As a matter of fact, the magazine that came with the gun actually was not as reliable as the Wilson Combats. We had several malfunctions with this magazine as well. Wilson Combat mags are expensive, but they are probably the best 9mm magazine on the market, and on top of that you get 10+1 as opposed to 9+1. So more reliable, more capacity, kind of a no-brainer. Now, the Taurus in and of itself is a full 5-inch barrel, again with a 9mm stainless steel barrel in it and a full-length guide rod. We also have a full steel frame as well, giving it right around that 39-40 ounce overall weight, which is pretty standard and pretty ideal for a 1911. The gun, like every other 1911, is single action only. That means that the hammer has to be cocked for the pistol to fire. It will not fire without being first the hammer put back, and then every round cycles the gun and resets the hammer for your second shot. Now, the nice part about that is you usually get a very crisp, light trigger pull that aids in accuracy. The 1911 as a platform is arguably the most accurate gun ever made if it's done correctly. Partly because of the trigger, and then partly because usually 1911s are relatively high quality. Because they are an older design, most of the higher quality 1911s are generally hand fit, which gives it an extra edge in accuracy. For example, my Wilson Combat CQB is guaranteed at 2 inches at 50 yards. This is guaranteed at nothing, so keep that in mind. Now, aside from having just a single action design, it is also a single stack pack with only a 9-round or 10-round magazine capacity. Now that is a detriment when it comes to capacity, but it's a benefit when it comes to carry. As you can see, even though it's a full-size gun, 1911s are very thin, making them kind of a favorite for carry for a long time, only phased out more recently by the modern polymer pistols because it is relatively heavy. We do have a grip safety on here, which I don't really like if it's not done well, but again, sticking with the pretty decent features, the Taurus actually has a pretty big memory pad on there for the grip safety, so even if you're shooting in adverse positions, things like that, rollover prone stuff, you won't have too much of a problem getting your hand to push down on the grip safety and get the gun to fire. That being said, a grip safety plus a manual safety and a lack of training results in generally the gun not going off. So if you're going to carry a gun like this, make sure you're very familiar with the battery of arms, because there's a lot more that can go wrong with this than a standard polymer gun where you usually just load the mag, hit the slide, and then put it in the holster. You have to remember you have to remove the grip safety, depress or remove the manual safety, depress the grip safety, make sure you have the gun in single action, and then the gun will most likely go bang. But remember, this is a Taurus.
There you go.
Oh, I think it's jammed.
Malfunction. Drop the mag. Then pull. Uh-oh. Malfunction.
Try to push the safety all the way down first. The safety might be caught.
Okay.
There we go.
What you did was push the safety up with your hand.
Oh, okay.
Caught the slide.
Okay.
Okay, not a malfunction.
100-year-old problem. Now, as far as reliability goes, I've alluded to this, but it was not fantastic. The reliability on the full 1,000-round review was maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 malfunctions, something like that. 8 malfunctions.
There we go.
Oh.
That, however, is a Taurus problem. Every time you have an issue, drop the mag first so you don't cause more issues.
Alright, issues with the Taurus PT 1911.
Yeah, the issue is that I bought it to begin with.
It's not seating.
Yeah.
And it's cold.
We also had some pretty serious issues with accuracy. I mentioned we did use a variety of ammunition through this. We did use 115 grain, 124 grain, and 147 grain. We used Fiocchi, Phoenix ammunition, and then we also used some American Eagle. All 3 ammunition types at one point had issues with the gun. Now in accuracy, this was not accurate. And I'm sure that it's mechanically accurate. At least I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. I think the issues really stem with the 10-pound trigger. Now I did do a trigger gauge on the first shots to show you that it was 10.4 pounds. And we'll give you a little trigger pull here. There we go. 10.4 pounds. 10.4 pounds. I've done it a couple of times since then. The trigger has not really smoothed out. It's still about 10 pounds. Now, it does have a nice reset, but as you can see here, it is a short pull, but it's very heavy. It's about the same trigger weight as my 686 double action revolver, so keep that in mind. All of the pros of the 1911 are negated by buying the Taurus. So the pros of a 1911 are that generally they look really good and they have really good coating, things like that. This doesn't look all that good because even though we only have 1,000 rounds for this, it looks like it's been through a freaking war. Like, you can see that there's all sorts of scratches and dents in it and everything. My Wilson Combat looks perfect, so whatever coating they use for this 1911 is pretty subpar in my opinion. Now, that's not just because I want it to look good, but it also begs to question how this would do in salt water or getting wet, rusting, anything like that. Because you can see just the barrel in and of itself looks incredibly worn. The whole gun looks very worn, and I'm very disappointed with the fit and finish of this gun. The fitment of this gun is really bad. As you can see, it's really hard to run the slide. The spring is a little bit higher spring than it needs to be. All the controls still feel really sticky even though we've shot a ton of rounds through it. And overall, by comparison to something like a Gerson or something like a Rock Island, which come in at the same price point, this gun not only is less accurate, less reliable, but it's also less ergonomic because all the controls take just a little more effort to actually use, and it takes your mind off the actual shooting experience, and it makes you wonder what the hell you're actually doing. So overall, I'm not the biggest fan of the ergonomics on this Taurus 1911, even though the 1911 is my favorite gun, simply because it's done so poorly. Even down to the fact that a lot of times when I dump the mags, they'll get stuck in there, which is something that I don't generally experience with 1911s. However, I have to assume it's due to the coating is just more sticky and more tacky than some coatings like DLC or something like that that's super slick and super easy to use. It also seems like because of that, it tends to gum up and it needs to be lubed and cleaned more frequently as well. The pros of this gun are going to be that you can get into a gun that's decent size, decent weight for a reasonable shooting experience. You can buy a 1911 for around $500, and if you're looking for a 1911 you just want to put up in a case or something and never touch, or you just want to own one for whatever reason, this might be a good one just because it's so cheap and so available. If you want something that you're going to use a lot and put a lot of rounds down, I'd recommend spending just a hair more to get a much better gun. Again, Rock Island's a little bit better than this. Gerson's definitely better than this. If you go up from there, you're going to get into the Colt competition guns and the Springfield guns, which I would also recommend well over this. They're going to be slicker, more reliable, more accurate. They're going to have a much better trigger and better features coming out of the box than this one will. Another reason why I don't love Taurus is because Taurus is a real crapshoot. It really depends because the low price also equals low quality parts. That's one thing you have to remember. The materials used, the manufacturing processes, and the quality control are all the cheapest they can get to give you the cheapest gun you can get. And I think at some point you spend so low, especially on a gun like this, that you have diminishing returns, and I just don't simply think it's worth it. For $50 more, you can get yourself into a Gerson, and I would absolutely recommend that. We have about 500 rounds for the Gerson right now, and it has zero problems. On top of that, it's much slicker, the controls feel a lot better, and the trigger is only 3 pounds as opposed to the 10 or even 11 pound trigger pull of the Taurus. So overall, I think by doing a 1911 badly, you negate all the pros of getting this 1911. And if you're interested in a full-size gun that's only $500, get yourself a Canic, or get yourself a Beretta APX, or get yourself a Walter PDP or something like that for around $500 or $600. You're going to be much better served than something like this. If you're interested in a 1911, the reality is if you want to get a good one, you generally have to get in on the Colt/Springfield level. Go up from there. Maybe Kimber's good sometimes, but obviously Nighthawk, Wilson Combat, all those companies are exceptional. Ed Brown as well. We've done many Ed Brown reviews. All of those are great. This one, sadly, is not. I like Taurus as a company for some things, the G2C, the G3, all that good stuff. But as far as their 1911s go, this is actually the second one I've owned, and a bunch of my buddies have these as well, and a lot of people have problems with these. Now, that being said, because quality control is an issue, they might put out 5, 6 good ones, 1 or 2 bad ones, or even 90 good ones and 5 bad ones. You get what I'm trying to say. Yours might be good. So don't yell at me in the comment section because your trigger's better than mine. It's not my fault that they had bad quality control and they gave me a super shitty gun. You have to remember Taurus didn't get the luxury of cherry picking this for me like they do a lot of the reviewers. I actually bought this from a gun store and brought it to you with no bias whatsoever. Again, I'm not hating on Taurus. I'm just simply saying the gun in front of me is not that impressive. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.